I often wonder what it takes to actually make a good business. Is it just really good work? Is that enough? Or is it being really consistent? Or is it having really good marketing? And you've probably got more answers on this than me, Gemma. You've come from a marketing background. You've worked in corporate marketing before. You got a degree in marketing. From your experience, what does it take to actually make a business stand out?
Well, I think you really have to own being the face of your business, um, especially in the wedding industry. Like, I think there are so many humans out there that are like either super good at being a photographer or a stylist or whatever, and there are some that aren't that good at being that. I think when you put yourself forward and become the face of your brand and share your story and all of the things that you're sort of doing, I think that's when you start to become known for something. Um, and whether you're really good at it or whether you're not so good at it, if you're the one out there sharing that you're doing it, then people know that you do that. So I think, yeah, I kind of have this sort of, when I first started, I had this sort of like, I don't know, I was super scared about being the face of my brand and like sharing what I was doing and sharing that maybe I wasn't that good at it yet, or like my journey to becoming like better at things. So I think like when I started to get over that hump, it's when I started to see real change in my business. And yeah, I think that's where marketing comes into it, because we have a very unique opportunity in marketing to share our story, share who we are, share why we do something, why we're into weddings or whatever, into corporate, whatever it is we're doing. When you actually get to start sharing that journey, that's when you become good at marketing your business. So yeah, I think marketing, people get a little bit scared of that term because it's like, oh, I need to know SEO and EDMs and I don't know, all of the technical stuff. But like, I see marketing as literally sharing your journey, and your why and who you want to work with. And that's when clients start to connect with you. And that's when you get booked and busy and all those kinds of things. But yeah, obviously there is still the technical side of things, but you start to learn that as you go along and pick it up and, you know, become an SEO guy or a social media guy or whatever. But yeah, I'd love to share more about that sort of journey with you as well, because it's been a big one over the last 3 years.
I think I often look around and see people. I think that's an important point you brought up about others who we might not see as being as skilled, but have a lot of work. And you often can sit back and think, why are they getting hired? Like, what is it about them? But I think, like what you've said, they're just sharing their story, and a story will always be easier to connect with than really good work. And sometimes we can easily overlook that.
1,000%. Because, like, I think at the end of the day, everyone is just a human, right? We're like humans trying to connect with other humans. And like, I think when you start a business, you're like, okay, I have to be this certain type of human. It's like, no, actually, if you just show up as the human you are, and share, Josh is such a good example of this. Like, he's rough around the edges, he swears a lot, he's tattooed, all that kind of stuff. And people connect with Josh because he turns up as Josh, you know? And yeah, I think I found that in my own journey as well. Like, at the start, I was thinking I need to be like this really polished, like, corporate girly, you know, like I had to talk a certain way to my clients. I had to, you know, show up with makeup on and be like really well dressed, and, you know, like as a stylist, I felt like that's how I should turn up. But actually, when I started like like sharing photos of me in my pajamas when I was like dead after a bump out, like patting my dog. That's when people started to find me interesting. And that's who I am as a human. So I think when you finally start to embrace that, your craft doesn't matter as much. Like you're doing the job and you're showing up, and that's what it's all about.
I think there's a lot of people that are scared to share that sort of ugly side of it, right? Like that a bit of not knowing what's going on, not knowing what you're doing, not knowing everything. But there has been a trend recently of people like trying to build things in sort of public, I guess, like build things in front of people as they grow their business and sort of show the behind the scenes of like, hey, I'm just starting, I haven't worked it all out yet. What is it about that you think really connects with other people? Because I think it goes against what we believe that we can't talk about these things until we're an expert at them.
Yeah, definitely. That's actually how I started to build Party Stems. I was like, hey, I'm trying to figure this kind of gap in the market out, and this is what I'm building. I think people connect with it because the process of building a business is really, really interesting. Like, it takes a lot of balls to build a business. And the people who don't have any interest in that, or like, they work corporate jobs or whatever they do in life, and haven't ever thought about exploring going into business, it's really interesting. Like, we have a very unique kind of job as a business owner. So I think sharing the behind the scenes of that is really interesting to them. And also the screw ups along the way, like it shows that you're a human, and it shares like the idea that, I'm learning as well, and people connect with that. Like everybody fails. So people find that cool when other people fail as well. It's like, oh, cool, we're the same human,
How do you get over that sort of fear at the start though? Like I felt that, and I know you just talked about it, like trying to be yourself is hard enough, let alone sharing things that didn't go right. Like sharing those failures that you have along the way is so hard to feel like if you put that out there in the world, that can be a good thing. Like what? Why would I tell people about this?
1,000%. I think business ownership is like the most intense therapy that you'll ever go through. And yeah, like the whole first year, I remember like, I was like, okay, all I have to do is hop on stories. Like that's all I have to do. And I turned the camera on and I like physically felt sick. It was like the weirdest feeling ever. I'm like, this is so strange. Like, I feel like I'm holding a spider in my hand. That's how like scared I felt. And I think honestly, my only piece of advice for like doing it is actually just getting it done. Like you just have to flex that muscle and just keep showing up and just do it. I know that sounds really like lame and like very simple, but it's like you just have to do it. Like it's like going to the gym. If you want to build some muscle, you have to go lift weights. You might not like it, but you just have to go do it. And the more you start to do it and embrace that it's going to feel like shit for a while, the more you do it, the more like it becomes second nature, and then you just get on with it. I actually had a mentor for a little bit in the social media space, and she was telling me a few tips on like how to film yourself for stories, because I think that's one of the biggest ways we can share what we do, right, is like free Instagram stories. And she was like, film on your back camera so you can't see yourself. When you watch the piece of content that you're filming back, don't look at it. Like, don't look at your face. Just listen to what you say. And if you've got your point across, then tick, post it. Like, for some reason, as a human, we're so mean to ourselves. So if you kind of just like stop watching and just make sure you're saying what you need to say and take that sort of like judgment of yourself of like, oh, I don't like my face in that, I'm going to redo it. It's like, who cares what your face looks like? Your face just looks like that. Just post it, you know? I think you just have to really like have some like self-reflection and be like, who cares? It doesn't matter. We just need to do it. If we want to get business, this is one of the things that we have to do, and just suck it up, unfortunately.
I think one of the biggest realizations for me was like, no one else actually cares. Like, no one cares about you. No one cares about you. They're too busy worried about themselves. And I know we get so stuck in our own head about, oh, everyone's going to think this about me. Everyone's going to be like looking at this. Everyone's going to hear this. And I would post stuff all the time, and then I'd ask my friends, and they'd be like, I didn't even see that, or I just skipped by it, or I don't even remember you talking about that. I'm like, you don't ever even see my stuff. Like, no one even cares. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they'll glance over it and think it's fine. Like, it's just normal. Like, but they won't pick up on the small things. And it's even better when you're just starting, right? When you don't have any audience, like there is no one there. There's no one, like the 30 people who are going to all maybe like see that Instagram story. Like, that's only 30 people. Who cares? Like, you can walk past them and just, like, you can walk outside and you probably won't run into any of those people. So no one's caring. You've just got to get over that hurdle, because sometimes, yeah, like people want to hear that story. And if that's what it means to get more business, then it's a small price to pay.
And I also, something I found quite confronting almost when I first started was the realization that the people I was worried about were actually like my closest people, like my circle of friends, or like people in the industry and things like that, which I find strange, because like my friends are so supportive. I have great friends, but I was so worried about them seeing me trying, which was such a weird thing. But one thing that I did do at the start was I actually just blocked quite a lot of my friends and family from seeing my stuff on social, because that was my fear, was them seeing it. So I just sort of like took that away, and not in a mean way. Like I now share it with them freely because I feel more comfortable. But I think there's just like, there are little things that you can do at the start just to preserve your mental headspace. And if you need to do them, you know, like if you need to block some family and friends, do that. Send them a nice message and be like, hey, I'm freaking out. I've just blocked you for a little bit. I'll get you back when I'm not freaking out anymore. So yeah, I think whatever you can do that helps your mental health while you're in this like sort of learning phase of becoming a marketer, just do it and don't feel bad about that, you know.
Is there something we can do to kind of balance being ourselves and being authentic in the stuff that we put out there, but also being strategic in putting out good content that we know is going to work? How do you juggle that? Because I think that the sort of tendency is for people just to jump on their stories and talk about anything that's not really, like, people don't really care, and it's not really like a moving the like needle when they think that it's working, but it's not. How do you balance the what we talk about versus being authentic with yourself?
I think that's a good one. I feel like I'm sort of in that messy middle bit where I was talking about my dog and talking about my cleaning my studio and just like random stuff. And I'm starting to become more strategic now. But I think at the start, you just need to like become the person that shows up, right? And then I think there becomes a phase where you then start to learn, because you have like data, because you've started doing it. You've showed up, you've been posting the reels, you're posting the stories, you might be sending some emails to your email list and all those kinds of things. When you start to like become the person that does that, you then can see the data of what's working. So it's like, oh, okay, cool. When I ask people to work with me, like say I go on and say, hey, I've got 5 spaces left for March next year, those stories get me inquiries. So then you can put those into your marketing plan. But I really think you have to just start showing up at the start so that you have the data to reflect when you want to become more strategic. You're not going to be good at everything. And like, you may never be good at everything. You might be good at like the marketing side, and you might be not so good at the accounting side, or like all those kinds of things. You're never going to be the most well-rounded, amazing business person in all aspects of your business. So like breaking it down as you go and being like, okay, I'm focusing on, say, marketing now. I'm going to start by just doing, and then I'm going to start becoming strategic by learning more things, and breaking it up like that. It takes so much pressure off you, because like, it's really hard. What we do is so hard. Like, trying to be everything is hard.
I find it hard to give other people like strategies as well, because I know how hard it was when I was first starting. Like, I would like listen to all these really good podcasts, and they'd give me really good insights of things that I needed to do, and I just get overwhelmed and I wouldn't actually end up doing anything. And like, as much as I say, it's important to have some sort of brand strategy when you're putting stuff out there in the world. If you haven't started yet, that's not where we should be starting. Like, just start and you'll build up to that over time. Like, build that, like, become, as you said, the person who does post stories every day. Become that person first, and then put the strategy in afterwards. Don't worry about having the most planned out strategy for the next like year and a half before you've even started at all. Like, because once you can have all the plan in place, but once you just get your phone out to record that story, it'll be just too hard and the hurdle's way too high.
Absolutely. I always liken business with the gym, because it's so like, everything's so intertwined. Like, you would never go in like having never been to the gym and do a bodybuilding competition, you know? Like, you would start by going on a 30-minute walk every day. And then you would maybe do a weight training session once a week. And then you would, you know, like, you would work up to that. And then you would become this like mega beast that gets a spray tan. But like, you have to really just become the person that is doing the first little bits before you become like a strategic marketer, or, you know, like really good at the numbers in your business. That's also another hard one. Like, first, like, becoming good at numbers, you first just need to get money in. You like, there's no point in being like, okay, what are my margins right at the start? Because you don't know what you're going to get in the bank for the first year, you know? There's just so many like little steps to becoming a master at all the things first.
And how many of those things can we use as a form of like procrastination as well? Like, I think there's like, in the beginning, I was like, I've got to get my website absolutely perfect. And then I've got to get the inquiry process perfect. And I would get one inquiry every 3 months. You know what I mean? And it's like, for that one person's going to get the best experience, but I didn't do any marketing to get people. So all of it didn't, like, I did it the wrong way around. And we just like try to stroke the ego to say, well, have a look how good my like website is. And I spent so long on it, but I didn't do anything to get clients.
And I had like 3 or 4 versions of my website. Like, and I was so obsessed with it becoming this like perfect, like well-rounded thing. It was just like, I got Dubsado in my first year. Like, I didn't need a CRM system for my one wedding that I had booked. Like, but whatever, I thought that was like what I had to do to become a business owner. But I think everyone has to go through that like perfection. Like, as a creative, we're always trying to be perfect. I don't know why. It's probably because we're all on the spectrum in some capacity. But like, you won't get anywhere having something super perfect, because perfect doesn't exist until you test it, right? So like, if you have V1 out in the world, then you can get feedback on what's working. And that's when you can make changes to get it closer to perfect. So if you're always trying to have V1 as like this insanely cool piece of whatever, like website or CRM, like workflow or whatever, you don't know if it's perfect for your target audience until you start speaking to your target audience and finding out what they want. And like I said with party stems, like I think we've spoken about this before, like when I first launched that business, I was like, people don't want to talk to a florist. They just want to book things. They want to see the pricing and that's it. And when I launched it, I thought it was going to go gangbusters. But actually, people have no idea what they need to book. So, and that's only come from, talking to my clients and things like that, is that I've realized that, they actually do want to talk to me and they want my expertise. So I do have to have some process in there where they can talk to me along the journey. I still haven't got that. I'm going to add the call in, but that's just another thing that I can do along the process to make it closer to perfect. But I wouldn't have known that if I didn't launch a website as it was at the start,
Are there specific ways that you go about getting that sort of feedback from clients? I think like a lot of us put stuff out there and we don't even know what's working and what's not. You've obviously worked in corporate as well, and they'd probably have more structure to being able to get feedback. Are there things that you took from that to know how to get feedback off clients or to know what's working and what's not?
You really just have to ask. I think a lot of people, like if you don't book a job and the client doesn't ghost you, but like comes back and says, hey, like we're going in a different direction. Like a lot of people say, okay, cool, have a great wedding day, all the best, but like it's okay to pick up the phone and be like, hey, like so sorry, like so sad that we're not going to be working together. Like I really enjoyed like chatting to you about your wedding and things. Just wanted to know, is there anything I could have done to like get this across the line? Like, have you got any feedback on my quoting process? Like people are happy to give that to you. I think the way you do that is a phone call, which is terrifying for some people, but people are like happy to have a chat to you. They don't want to email you back and forwards about your process, but like if you can just pick up the phone and have an honest conversation with someone, like you'll get what you need from most people. Some people will be like, oh, it was just cheaper, I went with that, and you're like, okay, great. But that's good feedback as well. Like if they say we went with someone cheaper, then you know that they weren't your ideal client, and you can note that and look for signs in the future. But yeah, the answer to that question is a lot of big companies ask the question because they have the resources and they have people specifically there for that. But if you want to kind of get better at your process and get the right feedback, you have to put on your big girl pants and, ask the question,
Yeah. And it just, even if things went well, like I tell people this all the time, like if you've got clients that you've worked with in the past, like a review from them saying that they were really happy with everything isn't the only thing you can ask for. Like there's always things you can improve on. So if you're just happy to be like, well, I got a good review, so I must be on the right path, then you're kind of going backwards in a way. Like you could be asking them, hey, specifically about these parts of the day, I tried something new here. Did this work, or was anything strange, or how did I go with the timeline here, or did I get, was the inquiry process okay? Because that was like a year ago. How did you feel with that? Like after these people were happy with your result, like you could at least speak to them. Like you shouldn't feel bad talking to them because they're probably going to be more honest with you.
Absolutely. And like the wedding process is such a long journey, right? Some of these people you're talking to for years or like at least 12 months. So if you haven't built that relationship where you could honestly ask them for advice, there's probably something in your process that you need to kind of change, I actually think like a client feedback form is probably worth more than a good review at the end of the day, because a good review is great, but like having direct feedback on each part of your process is probably way more helpful, and gives you more insight. Because reviews sometimes are just like, they were amazing, I love them. Like it's a good ego boost. But if you can like literally say, hey, what did you think of, like our mood board process, or what did you think of how I worked with your family while we were shooting family portraits? Like, you'll get so much more insight on the day.
And also, some of those things could be some of the best reviews you could get. Like, if you ask for like feedback on specific things, if they said they were really easy to work with, like in the process beforehand, like that might have not been something they would have ever thought to put in an open review. But when you specifically ask for something, if then they've said that, then you can just use that as a review on your website or wherever, because you know that other potential clients are thinking that could be a thing, because that's where they are at the moment.
A few of my friends work for like in the customer service area for like some really big companies, right? One of my friends is like a manager at like the complaints line, which sounds like such a scary job. But they actually used to have like a feedback form that they would send out after every complaint. So you can imagine like that could be quite scathing, like kind of scary. But they would tailor the feedback form to like exact parts of the process that they were being KPI'd for. So like response times, like did you feel like your complaint was heard in a certain manner, or like things like that. And calling those points out means that that person can actually reflect on those exact moments and give feedback for that things. And one of the things that they would say to like my friend would tell me is like, in those, they would use language that would actually direct them to a good outcome. Like even in the way they would send the feedback is like, would you give us a 5-star like review of your dealings with us? Because when you actually ask people for that, they can be like, okay, would I give it a 5-star? And that response comes like more honestly almost. It's like you can use marketing within your marketing tools to direct people. It's kind of scary how like marketing is quite manipulative, but it can also be used for good, obviously.
It is really scary when you think about how much control you can have over people when just using specific like words can change the way that they act.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's like these big companies are doing it. So I feel like small businesses can benefit from just like these little tweaks that we can use in our processes to help, get the best results,
You also talked about pricing before. I think like so important to think about feedback in terms of, well, what is actually going to be helpful? Like what feedback should we take on board and what shouldn't we? Like when someone says you're out of my price point, that doesn't mean you need to drop your prices. Like how do you reflect on that, and how do you think about like pricing? Because I think it's a big point of like feedback that a lot of people get and they don't know how to interpret it.
Yeah, for sure. I really struggled with this when I was like first starting out, because like I think there's like we sort of almost automatically go to, okay, when I'm new, I need to be cheap. But I have like a real aversion to that because, like when I started out, I knew a lot about like branding and events and like the flow of the day and things like that. I had a lot of experience that I could bring to my craft without necessarily being the best florist. And so I think those elements can also be like added to your pricing, like I have experience with events, so I should be able to charge like more than just a junior burger like backyard florist, you know, because I and like I'm older, I have like more professionalism and things like that. So I think there's a lot more that goes into pricing yourself than just, you know, the craft itself. And I think it took me a long time to kind of realize that. So when I started getting, you know, rejected because of price, like, oh, I found someone cheaper, I took it really personally right at the start, because I'm like, oh, okay, that hurts. Like, I think also like I put a lot of time into quoting and things like that. But I think as I started to grow my business, the realization that like it's okay that the price isn't right for some people, like the more you get no's, it opens up more opportunity for the right yes. And so like I started to kind of see no's as a bit of a blessing, because if you book a client just due to price, they're going to be hard to work with. And so I think, yeah, as you go along, you realize like, okay, that's totally fine, but I have priced my work according to my standard and what I deliver and what I need to run my business and stay in business. So if it is just price, then that's actually really great, you know. If it's like, we didn't book you because we didn't find that you were professional enough to work with, like, that hurts, you know. Like, that's the kinds of feedback that you would be like, okay, what in my process was unprofessional, and was it unprofessional to my standard or their standard? Because they might be looking for like a corporate photographer or like a corporate stylist that is like, yeah, you know, like it just depends on if you're confident in the way you've priced your services, then the price rejection is a blessing, you know. I think the more confidence you have in your pricing, then that is okay, you know.
Yeah, I think it's about not allowing your clients to dictate your prices. Like, you've got to set the price, not the client sets the price. And like, I wish I knew this when I was first starting as well. Like, I'm an advocate for doing a lot of like, I'm an advocate for free work when you're first starting, but I'm not an advocate for doing half price work or whatever the case is. Like, discounted work, I think, puts you in a price bracket and you get stuck there. Whereas when you do free work, it's understood that it's free, but that's not your price and you're just starting or whatever. And then once if you do free work for portfolio, then when you've got the portfolio to put whatever price on it you want. But when you're starting and you're offering half price, you then get stuck with half price clients, right? Who will then refer you to other people who are looking for the same price point, and you get stuck in that price point. And it's so hard because pricing is often just as much an indicator of like marketing of where you want to position yourself. Like, it's all about positioning as opposed to skill or what you're offering.
Yeah. And I know people that purposely price themselves lower so that they can work with people with more of a budget. Like, and that's totally fine. You can, you know, like, it's kind of like Aldi, right? Like, they price their products cheaper so they're more accessible, and that is a form of marketing. Whereas like, you know, you can, yeah, really put yourself into certain buckets depending on what your pricing is. But I do think it's so important for people to understand what they're pricing and not just going like I know a lot of people when they start out, they try and like download pricing packs for other photographers or other stylists or whatever, and they set their pricing based on what other people are doing in the industry. But that just, it doesn't work. Like, my price is based on my studio overheads and my air conditioning running when I have flowers in, and all of the styling stock that I own, and the price that my freelancers charge me, and my van hire, you know, like that. They're all factors that I have to price into my work. So somebody who works at home in their like house, that doesn't have a studio overhead, they don't need a van or things like that, like they can price cheaper, or like they can price according to the way that they work. So I think that is one thing that I think people get really stuck on when they first come into the industry, is like, what do I price? I don't know how to figure that out. And I don't know if it's the same with like photography as well, but like I'm assuming like you have to take your kit into consideration and like all those kinds of things. So like if you're just charging based on what other people are saying, like I don't think you're going to like be able to raise your prices with a strategic mind, you know? And exactly what you're saying, like I totally advocate for free work or like doing shoots with other vendors. I think that's an incredible way to build your portfolio and also make connections in the industry, because I think that's a huge part of a marketing plan as well, is networking. And I think that's sort of the way you build, rather than just offering discounted rates. Because, yeah, you can get pigeonholed so easy.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things people struggle with, like you said, like your overheads might not be the same as the other person up the street, but also taking into account like your personal stuff as well, like your expenses day to day. If you're older, you may have more expenses than if you're someone who's like living at home, right? And people struggle to price to make a profit. Like so many people just price based on the only thing they're working out is, well, what are my overheads in my business? How much gear do I have? What are my subscriptions that I have to pay this month? And I'll put that all together, and that's my price. It's like, well, you didn't actually earn anything from that job.
We're here to make money. Like, I know that sounds really like, I don't know. I feel like people get a little bit like put off by the fact that we're here to make money, but like, we're in a business, like that's the point. Like otherwise, let's just go work at Macca's. Like we'd probably get paid more if we're not like pricing everything properly. And I kind of like, you have to also think of it from the couple's point of view, right? If you're not pricing for profitability and your couples have booked you a year in advance, you have a duty to make sure that your business is here in a year. Like if you're not pricing profitably and you can't pay your overheads, you can't pay for the jobs that you have coming up, and you go out of business before the bookings that you have next year, that's so devastating for your couples. Like imagine putting that onto them like a couple of months before their wedding. Oh, sorry, I have to close my business. All the best, you know? Like it's kind of scary. You have to work on your cash flow and your profitability and things like that. It's like I said, there's so much stuff in business that you have to do, but it is really worth it, I think.
You still work with a lot of like corporate clients with your styling and floristry. Is it easier to price higher with corporate clients because you know that they have a budget that they're trying to spend? Because I found when I was first starting, it's like, well, I don't want to put people offside, because I always position myself as my ideal client, and so I was like, I don't want to be too expensive for myself, and so I'm trying to do them a favor by charging less, because I'm working with everyday humans who don't have a lot of money at the moment, so I don't want to price too high. Is it easier with corporate clients to know that maybe they have an amount away, or is it just the exact same?
Like I don't price any higher or anything for corporate, but I find it's more transparent with corporate. Like they will come to you and be like, we have this budget, this is the vibe, what can we do with it? And they're way more open to leaning on me to be like, okay, we can do a big backdrop here, or we can do this, and then like break down their budget that way. Whereas with wedding clients, I find it hard because they come to me with an expected list, as well as an expected budget, and you have to try and marry those two up. So like they almost have like a shopping list, and then they go into the shops and then realize that everything on their shopping list doesn't fit the budget that they have. And so you really have to kind of like work with those expectations and get them to the same, some kind of happy medium. So I would say corporate's just much easier because they're so much more transparent and a little bit more realistic with leaning on me to make their budget work in a certain way. But yeah, I do love corporate. I did have a period of time where I didn't want to work with corporate because I had like PTSD from working in corporate. But yeah, it's much easier now, and also it's usually a weekday, which helps. Like even staffing is much easier, and things like that as well. So.
Yeah, I recently spoke with a photographer who was like, loved working with corporate clients because they're like, there's no prize for them if they don't spend their budget. Like they don't want to spend half their budget, like they want to spend their whole budget. So you just have to keep adding inclusions until they spend it, because they don't want to have to go back to their department and say, oh, we only spent half the budget and we end up with this and we half-assed it. Like they want to spend the whole thing and actually produce good results. And they were like, so we just find a way to make everything work. And I'm like, oh, that kind of sounds easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And also like you want to spend the budget as well, because the next year when they come to you for the same event or something, you want that budget to be the same. You don't want it to be reduced again. So yeah, I do love corporate. Would like some more. Any corporates listening in?
We'd love some more jobs. If you love the corporate space so much, why did you transition out of it? I'm interested to know why you went on to starting your own thing.
So my original career was in public relations. So it was very much like I started in agency, and it was insane. It's such a weird world. It's just a lot of work, a lot of drinking, a lot of networking, a lot of partying, all those kinds of things. It was very fun. But I think throughout my whole career, I just knew that it wasn't the right fit for me. Like I was good at it. And I sort of like bounced around a lot trying to figure out whether, maybe it's this company, I'll move to this company. And then, on paper, I was a terrible job candidate because I had not stayed more than 12 months in any job. But I ended up in quite a toxic, work environment in my last job. And it just really knocked my confidence a lot. Like I was really questioning, my morals and like a lot of different parts of whether I was really good at this or things like that. And then actually COVID hit, and I found that was like kind of the perfect time for me to be like, this isn't working, let's try something else, which I kind of dabbled in, I did a lot of events management in my job, and styling as a part of that I quite enjoyed. And then I did speak to a wedding stylist, and she was like, if you want to be a stylist, go and do your floral certificate as well so you can do everything. And that sort of just I kind of just fell into it. And then when I started doing it, I realized how much I loved it. So it just kind of naturally happened, which is very, very lucky. I don't think many people just stumble across something that they absolutely love to do. So I do feel very, very lucky for having done that. And I think after that career, it took me a long time to sort of mentally recover. Sounds so bad, but it was a really, really toxic environment. So I think I just took a while to get back to wanting to get back into corporate work, and working with other PR agencies and event agencies and stuff. But now I feel like way more myself and way more comfortable with who I am and like where my business is at. Like it's good to get back to corporate and play in that kind of realm again.
Well, was it hard to sort of step away from a job that was more stable into something that was going to sort of take a bit of time to build up again?
1,000%. I think where I was at in my career, I was getting paid like decent money. So like really livable money. Like I could not worry about money as much. And then going back to a trade as well, which is like quite a low hourly rate, was really terrifying. But I knew that if I could get like a job that required less mental space and like less energy from me from 9 to 5, then I could work on my business on the side. So I did get like a safety net job when I was transitioning, which was great. And also timing wise, it was pretty good as well because COVID rescheduling meant that there was so much freelance work available when I wanted to start becoming a florist. So it was like luck and strategically getting a safety net job. But yeah, it's terrifying. It really is terrifying. I will say that having a partner really, really helped. And again, I'm very, very lucky for that. Somebody that could sort of bring home the bacon while I was transitioning was very helpful. I mean, not that the advice is to go and find a partner that can bankroll you, but it is like the advice would be like, even though it's a big jump, have some kind of safety net there and really look at your finances before you did it. Like it wasn't just a snap decision to throw everything in the bin and start again.
Yeah, I get so annoyed with that advice of just like throw everything away and just jump in. And I'm like, that's the quickest way to sort of burn out in a year and you'll be broke. Like it's not like building a freelance business, building any sort of creative business is going to take time and you've got to give yourself the best chance of success. And I love that you talked about there having a safety net job like as well, because I think a lot of people are scared to say that they did when they started. They were just like, I just went all in. I'm like, what does all in like mean to you? Because all in can be very different things for very different people. Like, yes, you quit your other job that you were over, but did you go back and get something more part-time or something as well? Like I worked in hospitality for the first 3 years, like because I was like, and that I tell people all the time, like that was the best thing because it meant that I didn't have to make decisions from a place of financial stress or scarcity or having to get jobs because I had overheads. Like I could just afford to keep going on, but it was a job that didn't take up any of my like mental space so that I could put time in, and the hours were very flexible and I didn't work every day of the week. Like it was just enough to get me by. But if I didn't have that, who knows? I probably wouldn't have survived the first year.
Definitely not. And I think also like that's such a good point, Mike, is like having my safety net job. There's actually two really important things in this, right? Firstly is the first few years of business, you have to work hard. Like I think there's this like whole thing around this like work-life balance and like setting up your business so that you can work less and all that kind of thing, which I totally agree with. I think when you get to a certain point in your business that you do have to have like ways that you can have a life outside of your business. But the first few years of your business, that's not it. Like you do have to hustle and you have to get shit done, and you're probably going to be tired. You're probably going to be exhausted. But that's part of growing a business. And secondly, what you were saying about like being able to make decisions from not a place of scarcity, or like not having to just say yes to every job, is one of the main ways I reckon my business has done well, is because I had the safety net there to say no to a lot of jobs. And if a job didn't fit what I felt aligned with, I said no to it. And not having to worry about taking that money meant that I could take jobs that I was A, really proud of, B, suited my style, and like I didn't get stuck being like a native florist, or like, you know, things that I just didn't want to do, like all white weddings. Like I didn't want to do that. So I just said yes to colourful briefs. And I could do that because I had an income still. So yeah, I think, having the safety net is definitely the way to do it, even though you may be very tired. I imagine in hospitality, you were tired a lot.
It wasn't something that you came home with and like were drained and were always on the clock. Like you were out. It was very early, like mornings. And like, but I had my whole afternoon off, and I only think I ever worked like 3 days a week. Like it wasn't crazy. Like, but I strategically did that to make sure that I'd have the time and have time in the afternoons, and I'd never work Friday, Saturday, Sunday either, because I knew those were my days where I could always be open to get new clients. Like I didn't want to have that stand in the way of me having new clients, but I also wanted it to make sure that I didn't have to take on clients, like you said, who didn't align with the work that I wanted to do, because it's so easy to get stuck down that path of just getting more of the same. Because once you start on that trajectory, you just continue to get more of the same work.
Also because like at the start, when you're doing those jobs, like you're starting on social media as well, and you need content to share. So then you're sharing the jobs that you don't want to do again, which means you book the jobs that you don't want to do again. Like if you aren't super proud of a job, don't share it on social media, because you're definitely going to get that job again. So yeah, I think when you can be a little bit more selective about that. And you know, there's other ways you can do that. Like maybe it's staying in that corporate job for longer and building yourself a little kitty. Like there's other ways you can do it if you don't want to work loads right at the start, but you just have to be smart about the financial side of it, so you've got that little safety net.
And I think you've also got the drive, the motivation at the start to work harder. Like, yes, you're going to have to put in a lot of time. Like, but you've got a supply of energy you can draw from in that first year to 2 years, but it slowly burns out. Like you can't burn yourself that hard forever. So you want to give yourself the best chance to do that, but not burn through everything that you've got. And so you're using all this momentum, and then you come to a standstill because you're out of like money. Like give yourself the best chance in that 2 years. And then, as you said, yes, maybe you can have the flexibility to like not do other jobs, or to have days off, or have holidays or whatever, or to work the hours that you want to work. But in the beginning, it's not going to be like that. So it's okay to work another job, and then you understand that outside of those hours, you're going to have to be doing a lot more as well. You talked about before doing sort of style shoots or brand shoots, or doing things to build portfolio. How important was that when you were starting? Because as you said, like the type of work that you show, and I'm a big believer in this, that the stuff you put out in the world is what you get back. So if you keep putting out work you don't like, you're going to keep getting it. How important is it to turn that on its head and put work out there that you do like?
Style shoots literally were like the making of my career, I reckon. Firstly, I believe, like coming from a PR background, relationships are everything. Like it is one of the most important parts of my business now is my relationships with other vendors. And a style shoot gives you the opportunity to figure out like how they work, see the backs behind the scenes of their job, which is so interesting. Like I did not know how much stuff a photographer has to lug around on site, like just having some empathy for their job and understanding, like what's involved in that is super important. And yeah, style shoots, you actually get to work on a brief that is from your own mind, as a stylist, a florist, like I get to use flowers that I wouldn't necessarily be asked for a wedding. So you get to play with them and figure it out and have some fun with it. But more importantly, I think is the vendor connections, because they're always going to be your biggest asset. Like you can get weddings off, a photographer is the first person, other than the venue. I think it more common than not, a photographer is the first person that will get booked for a wedding, and same with a celebrant. So if you have incredible connections with photographers and celebrants, they're going to recommend you clients like tenfold. Like investing in that relationship is better than investing in like an Instagram pay post, because they have hot clients that can come straight to you.
It always surprises me how many of my clients book in other vendors who are on my preferred vendor list, because like after they book me, they ask me who do I recommend, and I hand them to them, and then I ask them who'd you book, and then all the people from the like they don't even look again, because once they get a good referral from me, and I was like, oh, like that's a big deal, and I get that from other people as well. Like they'll come, I'll be like, how did you find out about me? They'll be like, through this other person you've worked with before. Great. Like that relationship, and I wish I knew that when it was starting, was like so important, to not just be a hermit in your house and don't ever go out and talk to anyone else in the world, and just try to build this all by yourself. Like, and to think that there is any prize to building it by yourself and not having any connections, like it's so much easier to build it with other people.
One of my Instagram strategies is every week I will send 5 to 10 vendors a message. And that's just like, hey girl, I love your last photos you posted. Like they were incredible. I mean that because they are incredible. I know some incredible humans. But like that's just being like human as well, like you're connecting with people, you want to cheer people on in the industry, and like those connections like are genuine connections because they're all legends, but they also are beneficial to my business, and it doesn't take all that much to send a message of like support to someone when you really mean it. Like those kinds of things are so easy to do, and they have so much like benefit towards your business. It's insane.
How do you start sort of reaching out to people when you're first starting, or how do you start to put together sort of a like style shoot or a collaboration with other people when you don't have the connections in the industry?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty big one. Is like firstly fear. Like it's actually kind of scary being like, hey, I want to work with you. I would say for people to start with people that are on a similar level at the start, so that at least you can all nut it out together first. So like if you literally just DM some people that you've been following for a while, or you see something pop up, just send them a DM and be like, hey, I want to do this. Would you be interested? More times, like I feel like more times than not, people are always interested to create some cool stuff, right? Like, I don't know about you, but like everyone I've ever reached out to about any kind of like fun, creative thing is like, hell yeah, when? Like the hardest part is finding a diary, like time that works. But yeah, I think that's a big one. Just reach out, just do it. I think before that though, just look out for cool humans and add them and send them a message and be like, hey, love your work. Like if you're finding people that you like, that's the whole point of social media, right? Be social. So start building those connections as soon as you can. Like some of my best friends in the industry don't even live in Sydney, and we've literally just been DMing on Instagram for the last year because they're cool. And like, you know, one day we might go to Perth and do a shoot together and hang out, and that's great, you know. But yeah, my advice would be just start talking to people and sharing your thoughts. Like, I love this work. Let's be friends.
I was also just going to say, like, how important is it to then be yourself and to put the truest version of yourself out there? Like, I know when I connected with you, when I reached out and asked you to come on board to help me with a more of like a styled shoot, I was like, your work just looks really cool, but also you have a lot of your personality in it as well. And I was like, you seem like the type of person that I could connect with and we could have a good time together. And so, like, I probably wouldn't have reached out to someone else who I didn't have any idea who was behind the brand.
1,000%. I think also, like, you know, when I got your email, when you reached out to me, I was like, this guy has obviously looked at my work, for one. Like, that is the most complimentary thing ever, you know, like, you've taken 10 minutes out of your day to scroll through my Instagram. We've never spoken, but you've obviously put in the work to be like, hey, you seem like a cool person. And that sticks out, right? You're like, oh, that's so nice. Like, I'm going to go on his Instagram and scroll through his work. And then I see you've got all these cool Hey Mike videos. I'm like, shit, yeah, that's awesome. Like, you just become, like, when you find people you connect with, it's just exciting. And you're like, yeah, okay, let's make this work. Whereas I have had other people just send like an email, be like, hey, I'm looking for someone for this date. Are you available? And you're like, no, I don't want to do that. You know, it's 100% needs to be a genuine connection. And yeah, when you are yourself and you find people that you think you'll connect with and you do it in a way that, you know, is super genuine, then that relationship is going to have some really fun, creative adventures, you know? Like, I'm sure we'll do something cool again, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
Like this.
Yeah, I've already got ideas. Yeah, like this.
Like,
yeah,
this is cool.
And anyone that I've ever worked with in person or spoken to on Instagram and had a more in-depth conversation with, I'm way more likely to work with them again. Like,
yeah.
Or connect them to other people and say, hey, like, when someone else you need someone, I'll be like, connect them to these people. Like, I get, like, even people who I would think are in competition to me, like, when I have work on that day, I can't be anywhere else. So when I get inquiries, I just send them over to those people because I know they're also really cool and they do really good work. And I'm happy to do that. And it's like, I get people all the time ask me like, hey, can you refer me work and this sort of stuff, or ask to do work together. And they're just so dry and bland. I hate to kind of say that, but it's like, it's not hard to stand out. Like, just take a bit longer to write something out and actually show that you're a bit interested or you care at all, or a bit of your own personality in it. Like, I get emails sometimes and like, they're just asking for stuff. And I'm like, well, what can I do? Like, you haven't shown any interest in me or even how it can help me. Like, you've just all talked about you. Like, it's not hard to stand out, people. You just send a message, and a lot of people, as you said, are really happy to get a good message.
Yes, like, how nice is it when you get a DM? Like, I make a point of, and like, this isn't like, I feel like I'm saying it and it sounds like a strategic thing. It's totally not. Like, I love people. And like, if I like something on social, I'm going to tell you that I like it, you know, like, how nice is it to receive a message from somebody you don't know and you're like, hey, your work is freaking sick, keep it up, you know, like, how nice is that? And like, yeah, maybe that will lead to something, maybe that will lead to like drinks at a bar one night, you know, like, it doesn't have to be business related. It could be just making a new friend or like sharing some kind of like funny meme or something when you're having a shitty day, you know, like, it's not all business related. It's just human connection.
Yeah, and I think the types of people who think that everything is strategic or think that everything's like a marketing play aren't the type of people that I want to connect with anyway. So if I send a message and they think that, they're the type, like, how often, like, we attract the energy that we put out there. So if they think that that's what they do to other people, like, the only reason they DM people is for a strategic play, and that's every time they get a DM, that's what they think other people do. It's like, like we think so harshly of ourselves, we don't put ourselves out in the world because we think other people think the same of us. Like once you get over that, it's all the kind of same stuff. Like what we think is what we think everyone else thinks. Like so when I get a message, a response from someone, like clearly they think the same way as me because they wouldn't have replied if they didn't.
Absolutely. And also, like, going back to what we were talking about with like referrals and stuff as well, like a referral is an extension of your brand. Like, so the things that, like, if you're referring someone to a couple, you want them to feel like your brand feels as well. Like, you don't want to, like, I would never refer a couple onto like a photographer that like super like polished and they're like a bit uptight. Like I would never send that to my couples because my couples are so fun and they want to party. They want a photographer that's probably going to have a drink with them while they're shooting, or like they want something a bit more laid back. So like if you're referring the wrong people to your couples, it's just your kind of brand is getting a bit muddied as well, like, yeah. Everything is your brand, like literally everything you do. Every comment is your brand. If you're commenting on random posts that don't align with who you are, like that's on the internet, things like that. Just
Oh, yeah. I I always see that. I was on Instagram the other day and I was looking, like there's a video that kind of went viral, and I saw, like, I had a look at the comments underneath, and there were a few from people that I like knew, and I was like, they were putting things on there that I was like, that seems very anti what you stand for, but why are you writing that? And I was like, oh, I'm a bit like turned off because I've now seen that you put that out there in the world. I'm like you never know who's going to see these types of things, and like just being your truest self can sometimes be important. Like don't put things out there that you wouldn't want people to be able to see.
absolutely. And it's forever. It's on the internet forever. Like you can't take it back. So yeah, I think that's my PR brain coming out. Like
You talked before about hardy stems. Love you to sort of explain what you were doing there with your business, and the sort of differentiation between the two arms of it, I guess, and even go back before that. Like, what was the play to implement that as an extension of your brand?
Yeah. So my first business is Subsubtle Studio, and that I really wanted to. I was really struggling with the idea of like packaging up my services. So like, with your photography business, like you probably have like tiered packages, and the whole journey then for booking is like a little bit more simplified. So, but with Subsubtle, every single inquiry has a custom quote, like a proposal. Like it's very labor intensive. And I kind of in year 2 of my business went through this whole process of like figuring out what my signature offer is, and like it's just so impossible to present that in a custom quoted business. Like it's really, really hard to get to there. So I played with a lot of things. Again, this whole testing things out, and you kind of notice the effects of the testing like 12 months later. And so I had sort of booked unintentionally all of these packaged clients because I was trying to simplify my business so much, and they just didn't really seem to fit the Subsubtle brand. So I took a bit of time to like figure out where I kind of went wrong, because it wasn't the work that I wanted to be producing in Subsubtle. So I come up with this idea of essentially having a place where people could create their own flower quote, almost like an e-commerce site for wedding flowers. And I thought that would be an easier way to get sort of like more price conscious couples covered with flowers. So I wasn't having to do custom quotes. I wasn't having to do like proposals and mood boards and things like that. I wanted to like really simplify that side of the booking process. But having that under the same brand was so mixed. Like it just didn't make sense to have targeted like low cost / low service, like low interaction and things like that, plus something that I really wanted to have like loads of hands-on, higher value, all that kind of stuff. So I split the two. That's when Party Stems was born, and I kind of describe it as the like Woolworths self-checkout for wedding flowers. So or the other thing is like online shopping versus having a personal stylist. So the personal stylist will go out and source things that fit into the whole story that you're trying to tell. They're like shopping just for you. They're making something like bespoke, or they're, you know, doing all of that in the Subsubtle brand. Whereas Party Stems is like going onto the iconic, adding things to cart and checking out. And that's sort of like the two separations. I really, really wanted to, I love working with like elopements or like smaller weddings, like restaurant weddings that are a little bit more low key. And I love those people. But they just didn't have the budget to work with Subsubtle because of the high touch points in that business. So that's why I separated them. And it's been such a learning curve. Like we were talking about earlier, like I was really conscious of just getting it out there. And so version 1 fell flat on its face. The way I had set up the site wasn't, it just didn't work. Like I just had a few products and not enough explanation of how it works. So version 2 of the site, I've made like a package builder where they can like go through steps and actually go like personal flowers, ceremony flowers, reception flowers, and then set up and things like that. So that's a little bit clearer and that's sort of helping. But V3 will be having, you know, a little bit more, or like the ability to have some FaceTime with me and really like help them book that in a little bit easier, which is something I thought people really didn't want, but turns out they do.
And you only worked that out through experimenting with it and asking people, like putting it out there and seeing what the response is.
Yeah, 1,000%. And getting that feedback was so good, because I didn't know that people were on my, like, following me on Instagram. They hadn't DM'd me or anything like that. So they were lurking. But until I said, hey, I'm going to be at this expo, come see me if you have any questions. And I had like 4 couples show up just to ask questions. So like, yeah, like you don't know what you don't know until you sort of start trying different things. But yeah.
I think it's a really good case study in experimentation, because I know so many creatives who are like, I want to work with these 2 different types of clients, but they're not the same and they can't all fit under one umbrella. How do I go about it? Like if I try to stretch my brand, then sort of waters down my offerings, because I can't have something that positions at a more higher price point and something that these people might only be after an hour of my time, so I can't offer them the same thing. I think that's a really good example of something that you've done there that has been able to split it. Do you think that it's been a worthwhile effort to go about breaking it apart?
Yeah, I am really glad that I separated them. Like it's obviously more work. It's like 2 Instagram accounts, 2 email addresses, 2 websites. Like it's a lot more. But the clarity that I had, because before I was trying to fit it all into Subsubtle and I was trying to do everything and be everything to everyone. And like, that's so common to like want to work with everyone. But like the more I drilled down in Subsubtle, like who my client was and how much they need to spend to get what Subsubtle can deliver, the more work I booked, because I was so clear on that. So then trying to bring in this sort of like lower cost, less hands-on experience into that business just muddied the water, and then my branding got so mixed up again. So like having that and the clear distinction between the two is really great. And it also means that if I have a client come to me through Subsubtle and they're like, love your work, but we can't afford it, I can immediately send them to Party Stems. And it's a nice little filter to have the distinction between, if we go to Party Stems, it's pick 4 colors, pick your products, and I'll show up on the day. But if you want a mood board and custom designs and like an insane backdrop and all that kind of stuff, then this is how much you need to spend to get that, you know. It just makes my selling so much easier because I know where things fit now.
The dream for a lot of creatives, I think, is to create a brand that they could just have and just be totally walk away from and just operate on its own. Do you think that Party Stems eventually could become that, where it is a full like self-service thing and you just get other people to walk in there on the day and just to do the styling for you, or just to hand over everything they've ordered?
I think yes, I think eventually, but I think there's so much education because honestly, there's nothing like, this sounds so cocky, but like there's actually nothing like this in the market. Like if you want to get wedding flowers, you go to a florist and get a custom quote. Like that's just how every florist works. So I really wanted it to be like much more self-service, but I think at the moment there's a disconnect between the education of the client, because I still get emails like, hey, can you quote me for this? Like that's how I get most of my inquiries, is like, hey, can you quote for this? And it's like, okay, let's jump on a call and explain the website and how you can use these, and then they book. So once that is like very well communicated and educated, I think one day it might be a little less hands-on. But I don't know, the whole concept of like kind of having a business run on, you know, just itself is kind of, I don't know, like, does any business actually just run by itself?
I think it's so hard for creative people, especially when we are the brand. Like I hear of people that have run like, to have a more like creative agency where they then, if there are clients where they've already got work on that one day, they can just send one of their other like freelancers out to do the job. But then it's not you. Like a lot of people come to me for me. Like they would never accept me just like sending out someone else on my behalf, because they're not getting me. Like they're going to pay for me. And for me, part of me, I enjoy that. Like I don't want to walk away from the brand. Like, and maybe that's the part that I struggle with, is the business end of it all. Like I would never be able to scale this, but I also don't really want to. Like I want to be involved in everything because that's the part that I enjoy, and that's okay. Like I've been very honest with people from the beginning. Like I never took on a heap of clients a year because I wanted to give each of them a really good service. And I meet with all my clients a few times before their day, and in person as well. And I want to be there the day before, and I'll go like meet them, because that's the stuff I love. Like some people just want to turn up on the day, do the job and go home and don't ever have to communicate with the clients again. But that communication is the part I love. So why would I try to step away and outsource all of that to jam more, to try to get more clients in?
That makes so much sense. And like, I think for me, like so like in Subsubtle, for example, I have staff that come in and help me with the job because I physically can't do everything. And, you know, I do have a few jobs where like I will have somebody else lead that job because I've got 2 jobs on that day, so I have to go to one and they have to go to the other. But I always design everything, like it's always my vision and everything like that. But with party stems, what I really wanted is to have a more regular source of income, because like when you're working with like a minimum spend of like 8 to 10K, that's not coming in every week, But if I have a lower spend product that can be more regular, like that can help with my cash flow. But it also, like, I designed that business so that all the creativity is on the florist. So like the client in that business doesn't pick flower types. They don't pick like, we don't do mock-ups or mood boards, or like they don't send us inspiration or anything like that. They pick 4 colors, and then what we do with that is the creative fun part, right? So the whole premise behind it is just to have fun with it and deliver something that's really cool for them. And taking out all that admin side of it, the stuff that I kind of hate doing, means that I get to be creative in that business. Or if I have florists who are incredible florists, like the freelancers that I work with are probably better florists than I am, to be honest. But they can come in and have fun and design something cool, and like I will have the cash flow to be able to have them in and provide that experience to them as well. So yeah, I think there's like, I never want to become like detached from the business, but I would like something that is a regular source of income and takes the pressure off, always having to hustle for those big leads and like those big budgets, which is subtle.
Yeah. I certainly feel like that's what I've done with the online sort of education space. Like that has been my sort of removing some of the stress of like, well, now I can dedicate more time to the in-person clients that I have, and I don't have to have as like many a year now, so I can really dedicate my time to them because I've got this other thing that sort of works on its own. I've still got to be there, but it sort of runs all the time, and so it's its own entity that I then can spend more time. And I like what you touched on, like it gives you back more time to be more creative with the work that you do and more inspired. You are one of the most creative people that I've ever seen work in the space, I think. Like you come up with such cool ideas. I'm just really curious, how do you keep that creative inspiration? How do you keep that spark alive after working with so many different clients? How do you keep coming up with new ideas and new briefs?
Thank you. That actually means so much. Because I know like imposter syndrome in this business is so ripe. I was having this conversation the other day. It's like one of the photographers on site was like, how long have you been in business? And I'm like, oh, only 3 years. And I still, get nervous before every wedding and all that kind of stuff. And he was like, I've been in the game 13 years and that literally never goes away. So, but honestly, one of the best things that I have done for my creative mind is I have stopped looking at wedding stuff. Like I feel like when I like have muted quite a lot of wedding stuff, like wedding, contacts that I follow just for the, like all the UK people that I used to follow, like I've muted all of those, and like I just look at my friends' works now because that inspires me. But not being in the wedding space has made me a way more creative person, and not comparing my work to other people's works, or like not seeing the job that you quoted pop up on your Instagram like being done by another person. Like that has given me way more headspace to be like, oh cool, like let's just give this thing a go, like let's glue a million gems onto some polystyrene balls, and like try that. Like yeah, kind of getting out of that really negative comparison headspace, which is just like a natural part of like being human, you know, just removing myself from there is maybe, yeah, way more creative.
I've made a few videos about this myself. Like I went through that hard. Like I had to block almost everyone in the space for a while because I was just like, I can't see other people working. I was also at a point where I was like early on struggling to see other people be successful. And I was like, well, that's really hit me hard because if I can't be happy for them, then I'm never going to be happy for me. And I had to, there was a lot of, like you said at the beginning, like starting your own business is a good way to, is to start understanding what you feel and sort of getting these thoughts out. And I was like, well, I need to put that on hold. I need to go find inspiration elsewhere and sort of come back refreshed because that is just not helping me at the moment, comparing myself to everyone else around me.
Absolutely. And another thing that, like, out of the creative side of things, like, I find other businesses that are not in the wedding industry, the way they do things is so much better or like more advanced. Like, this sounds really rude, but like the wedding industry is like quite behind with like the way we do business. Like, it's quite amateur in like some respects. And I think, you know, like really looking at other industries, like I have loads of friends that are interior designers, and the way they run their business is really interesting and aligns with like my business so well. So I've gotten a lot of other tips in the business realm from people outside of the industry as well. Even like plumbers. This is so weird. Plumbers, electricians, any trade, because like we're actually in trade jobs. You know, like the way that they price their works, the way that they, you know, even price their like sundries and like inventory and all that kind of stuff. Like that relates so much to our businesses. And just removing myself from the wedding space has really kind of helped me think about that in other ways.
I think being like an artist in these past couple of years and going along and sort of following other photographers in other industries has been one of the better things that I've done because it's like seeing the way that professional photographers work. Like they are at a higher standard. Like when they're working with any other industry, it's at a much higher standard than the wedding photography industry. And I think that I got caught up in the beginning. I was like, why? Like I was just stuck doing the things that other people in the industry would do because that was the expectation. And I now look at people there and I'm like, that's not the right way to do things. Like really not correct way to do the art form. Like there's a much better way to go about this, but that's the way that it's been done. But I still see like there's obviously like the client that they're working with, the client doesn't understand it. So it's always going to work. But I think it's progressed my skill set by looking elsewhere and being like, oh, there is actually a better way to do this. Is there any examples that you have that you look internally at the way even people run their businesses that you think that could be improved upon, but they're just stuck in their ways? Or was there anything that you had to throw out in the beginning? You're like, no, this isn't working.
I genuinely threw everything I was taught through like my floristry like certificate. Like I threw out the pricing model. I threw out all of those kinds of things because like I'm aware of it because it's an industry benchmark. It's a shitty industry benchmark that is so outdated. But like, yeah, the more I was in like the flower world specifically, like even just administration, replying to emails, replying to inquiries, like so many people just don't reply, which is like so weirdly unprofessional. I've looked online at who's running ads in our industry and literally no one. There's like barely any florists that are running ads. And I'm like, how are you getting leads? Same with organic Instagram stuff. Like nobody puts their face out there. people are just sharing their work, and like flowers are pretty, but like I said before, it doesn't really matter if you're a good florist. Like, especially flowers are beautiful. So like you could be really shitty and use really pretty flowers, and your work looks the same to like any other human. Like the performative like Instagram posts of like really cool flowers, that's just for other florists, you know. But yeah, like pretty much every aspect of the business side of things, I got from other realms, you know. Like my whole inquiry process is shaped off a friend of mine that does interior design with really high flying, like paying clients. So like I shaped my whole inquiry process off that, rather than what I learned at flower school.
And it's all about like who do you want to like attract? Like your inquiry process will like turn away some people because they'll be like that kind of anchors you in like a price point or in a position that I don't sort of work with.
Absolutely. And also like I think there's some stat. I looked at it like a long time ago, but like it's something like 80% of couples book the vendor that first responds to them. And I remember when I was like first starting out in the industry, like a lot of people I was working with like wouldn't check their emails for weeks on end. So like they would go back to a couple that inquired like 3 weeks after they inquire, and they've moved on. You know, like you're leaving work on the table if you're not responding really quickly to inquiries.
You also talked about like marketing strategies, paid versus organic marketing. How many different marketing strategies do you think we need to have? Because I get overwhelmed and I'm like, I can't do everything, so I've got to choose which ones I'm best at. Is there like a merit to that, or should we be trying to spread ourselves in every direction to try to get as many different people as we can?
Yeah, so I think there's a few key things that I have set up in my business, and I'm really happy that I have them set up. So the first one is actually an email list. And I would say that's more important than organic social media, because you own your email list, and it means that if somebody is signing up to your email list, they're pretty warm. They're like quite a warm lead because they want to know more from you. So I would say that is like number one thing that I would recommend people always set up first. Second one would be organic social. That is how you find new people. Like that's like super top of the funnel. That's like bringing people in. And that is the thing that you can get people onto your email, like you use to get onto your email list. And then I am now dabbling in paid, because once your organic starts to kind of like plateau a bit, that's when you have to start paying to get people into the top of the funnel. Those are the three main ones that I would always recommend. But I think like we are only one human, you know, like I think the further you stretch yourself, the more stressed out you're going to be, and then you're going to drop off everything else. So like it's sort of like you need to get the balance of, okay, I am only one human, I only have capacity for these three things. Let's pick three things that are really, really going to help my business. But yeah, I like that plus networking with fellow vendors are the things that I would concentrate on. And then when you start to build a team, you can start to do blogs or whatever, you know, like when you get more help, then you can actually do it. Start a podcast.
I don't know that this actually does a lot for my my ideal sort of clients. And I think one thing that I'm really bad at is sort of, paid advertising. I've never done much paid advertising. I've always steered clear of it, and it's never been something that I'm strong at. But one thing I invested a lot in at the beginning was like my blog and like SEO, and it's really working now. Like it's a slow burn, but it sort of paid off over time, and I now get a lot of like organic inquiries from just Google and things like that. Like people like searching me in my area, and I'm the first person that pops up, so they just inquire with me. Like that sort of paid off a long time in advance, but it wasn't something that I would it's hard because I don't recommend it in the short term because it's going to take a couple of years to get up, but start it as early as you can. And then one of the other things for me was just like referrals too. Like don't forget clients you've worked with, but also other vendors you've worked with, really emailing all of the vendors after you have a job together, like you said, just connecting with them and trying to get those referrals as well, rather than just from the one client. Like you've worked with so many different people, and also how you present yourself on the day. There are other people at these events that could be potential clients as well, that you can just market directly to because they're right there.
Absolutely. And I think that's like so important, Mike, is like, I'm assuming, did you do SEO because you like writing, or like?
I hate writing.
Oh, okay, that's so interesting.
I did SEO because I heard it was good.
Yeah, okay. So like I would say like you really like lean on the things you enjoy doing, right? At the start. Like you are in this like unique position when you become an entrepreneur, is like you are your own boss, you run your own ship. You actually can just do shit that you like to do. Like, yeah, there's some stuff that you have to do, like accounting or like mostly accounting. I bloody hate accounting. Yeah, like those kinds of things. Like, yeah, you have to do that. But like in marketing, like just do stuff that you really like and do that really, really well, because then you can like enjoy the process. And then when you need to add something else, then you can start doing that. Like the reason I've started paid ads is because I have a really good friend who has like nerded out so much on ads that she just loves them so much. So I'm learning from her. And again, that's like the networking connection. Like I met her through business coaching. She loves ads so much that she's offered to help me with my ads. And I would only do that if I was comfortable with the other things that I was doing first, because the numbers side of things, putting spend behind it, like that's all like a big step. But I'm so comfortable with my email marketing and my organic social right now that like I have the capacity to do ads as well. But they're scary. Like I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm literally just doing what she's telling me to do and hoping that that it works out. So if I learn some more, I'll let you know.
Please do. I need all the help I can get. I see some people like, I think ad spend is one of the easiest things for people to do when they first start, but it's also one of the easiest things to get wrong. And people just put like money behind things that aren't working, and they think that they're working. And so I recommend people like, if you haven't tried it organically first and it's not working, don't put any spend behind it. Like get good at organic first, and then once it's working, then spend, because at least you know that it's working. At least you know that the content that you're going to be like promoting is good. Like don't just promote bad content or promote bad, like if you're bad at writing your CTAs, don't don't put spend behind bad CTAs. Like make them organic first on your story, and if you get a lot of good response, and that probably is something that then you could put spend behind. And
also like the whole side of ads, like from what I've learned from my friend is like there's a lot of it's not just like putting $5 a day on an Instagram post. It's like we take best performing content, we use that in the back end, and then we run tests on that content to basically cut out the weaklings on paid. Like, because yeah, there's so much, there's a whole strategy towards like the paid side of things than just, boosting a post as well. And that can work for say 3 months. When you finally figure it all out, it could work for 3 months, and then your content is exhausted and you have to like do the whole thing all over again. So yeah, like if you just stick with some things that you love to do right at the start, you know, if you love writing, write emails. If you love, you know, talking to camera, which I feel like nobody does, but do that. Like even, you know, there's a really famous florist in Sydney, and his content is literally just dancing while he's making flowers. And every single video is just dancing while making flowers. And he has like 2 million followers. And like, if you like dancing, just dance while you're taking photos. Or like, you know, like incorporate stuff that you love into your marketing, and it will, you know, just repeat, rinse and repeat. Hey, Mike, you know, like that format works for you. When you find something that works, just like repeat and keep going with it.
Just like throw everything at the wall, and when you find something that does stick, like just stay with it, and you know, don't make the process harder for yourself than it needs to be. I could talk about that for hours. I talk about how much content it's out there in the world that's not really helping anyone, and how much it's like what are the actual success points, but I don't think we have enough time.
No, definitely not.
In this episode. I'd love to just end by talking about what's the goals for the future, like moving into the new year. Have you got any big plans for 2026? Other things you're working on? You talked about for version 3 of your website too with Hardy Stems. Interested to see where that goes, because I think it's a really good idea and a very like a unique idea. Any other ideas? I know you're an ideas person that has heaps of ideas. Are there any that you're going to be acting on anytime soon?
Yeah, so my biggest goal for next year is to really get Party Stems like churning really nicely. So that means I'm probably going to really cap down my subsubtle bookings for next year and just take on you know, like a really set limit of very cool briefs that I'm really happy with, which is slightly scary because that means like probably taking a little bit of a financial hit as well, just while, you know, Party Stems picks up really nicely. But winter, one of my biggest goals for next year is not to have a mental breakdown over winter. Because for the first 3 years of my business, I slip into some weird like depressive state. Like I think I put a lot of like, if I'm not busy, I'm not good mentality on my brain. So this year I really want to work on some kind of industry sort of project for winter. And whether that's in like sort of the styled shoot area or something like that, but maybe making it like a little bit more multi-people on one shoot and a bit more like an education space as well. I really am keen to do that because it's something that has been on my dreams list for a long time, and making myself busy will help me reduce mental breakdown.
It's kind of like crazy how it has that impact. We're just like, if we just always stay working, we can't ever stop to think about these things.
Well, like, yeah, my husband suggested maybe like a holiday, so maybe I'll do that instead.
Oh, maybe you could do that. Yeah.
But yeah, like the biggest goal is just like to keep my mental headspace like super healthy over winter. Which seems like such a weird goal, but like it's so crazy the like, you know, peaks and troughs of our seasonal jobs. I think that is something that really hit me. I didn't realize it would be such a mentally traumatic time.
Yeah, I don't think I understood that either. It was kind of the biggest reason why I went into the online space. I can still do stuff in that off season. Like it's so important to have something else when you do have to have that bit of downtime. And people who don't work a job they enjoy don't understand it. Like what it is like to sort of have to take a break from something that you really enjoy. They're just like, oh, just have a holiday. It's easy. Like just take time off. And like, but this is what I like. Like you wouldn't take time off from things you enjoy every single day for like a month.
1,000%. Yeah, and then also just like obviously the financial stresses that come with down season. I think like this is such a side note, but like one of the best things I did for my business was split my payment process into three splits, so that at the 6 month out mark, I had another chunk of money that was falling in winter. Just like a random tweak, but something that really helped me kind of like ease the pressure of over the winter period to have cash flow over then as well.
Yeah. I've also like started offering clients if they want to pay it off early too, because like I've often experienced like a lot of clients, especially venues, expect their 80% at the end in that last 2 weeks before the event, and people are like, I'm just holding all this money, like I want to be able to hand it to you earlier. And so it's a nice thing to offer to help them. I'm happy to hold it for you earlier if that's something that you want to do. Like I don't have to accept it all in that 2 weeks before. If everyone else is asking for it, then like have it like 3 months before it's due. And then a lot of people are happier to do that way rather than holding on and having to pay every single person that last 2 weeks. And it can, definitely help to have a bit more like money over that period where there's not a lot of work.
Cash flow is the craziest side of the whole thing, I think. It's just trying to get that. You need to get some financial person on and chat through that.
If only I was an expert, I need to get someone on to talk about that because I got no idea.
Yeah, it's so intense.
We're all just like making it up as we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Do I have money in my bank account today? Check.
Yep, I'm good. Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Gemma. I really appreciate it. Where can people go to find your work, and where's the best place to keep up to date with you?
Well, I'm mostly active on Instagram at sub.subtle. And then obviously next year I'm going to be very active on the Party Stems Instagram as well. So that's at party.stems maybe. I don't know. I actually don't know. That's why I've got to get into it.
It'll be in the description.
Yeah.
I love keeping up to date with all your Instagram stories.
Thank you so much.
A
lot of dog content.
It's always great fun.
A lot of mishaps.
Oh, it's great.
A lot of mishaps.
And inspiration to put yourself out there more. Like I always look at your stories and I'm like, I should be like, why don't I just hop on there and talk about anything? I feel like, I can't talk about that. Like that went bad today. I shouldn't talk about that. And then you're just on there like everything's happening.
Yeah, everything's happening.
And it's so really cool to hear just an open and honest person talk about the way things happen, because this is just how it is.
Yeah. And honestly, like that's the stuff people connect with. Like I reckon I could look at my content and see when I've posted Cosmo as to when I get an inquiry with someone with a dog. Like that's, just
crazy like that, how it works.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Gemma.
Thank you.
No worries. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Anytime.
And that's the end of today's episode. If you're watching on YouTube, there'll be another episode linked up here or down below the like button. And while you're down there, why don't you leave me a comment to let me know that you were here? And I'd love to hear what you took away from this episode. If you're listening to the audio version as well on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, feel free to leave me a rating or review. It does really help to get the show out to a new audience of people just like yourself who would also be super motivated by these episodes. As we tell stories of creative people, I want to pay my respects to the first creatives of the land on which I'm recording this podcast, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people of so-called Australia. Editing and post-production on this episode was done by Mossy Heart Media, and music by JW Payton.